this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. LSU baseball. What's the catcher spot look like? I wrote about it at LouisianaSports.net earlier today. We'll talk about it in 15 minutes. Glenn West will be by to talk some hoops at 1:30. LSU, speaking of hoops, not shooting it great. And I actually dug into these numbers deeper than I wanted to, but it paints a pretty bleak picture and one that is a little staggering with the statistics. So I'll talk about that at 2 o'clock. Sharif Ishak at 2:30 talking about the latest with the New Orleans Saints coaching search. A lot of the New Orleans Saints media has converged on Mobile. Our guys have converged on Mobile in the morning. Jacob and T-Bob there yesterday and today. They'll be there the next 2 days, courtesy of LeBears, by the way. They're giving you some great content. They had Mason Taylor earlier today. I'm told Mike Kafka likely to be on the show tomorrow. So a lot going on in Mobile, and we'll talk about all that coming up with Sharif at the bottom of hour number 2. We'll start things off the same way we start every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
What started with Aaron Glenn has been pushed to the side, and then there was a couple of other names that the Saints dipped their toe in with Mike Kafka, went down to Anthony Weaver in Miami, and then Joe Brady was very much rumored to be in the mix, and he said no, and Mike McCarthy became available, and there's some talk about whether or not that's viable, and the thoughts are that there's not a great start with that first interview, but there may be a second one, and now all of a sudden it feels like Kellen Moore's name is really rising toward the top of this New Orleans Saints coaching search. And so I felt like it was probably about time, since the Saints flew across the country to interview this guy in person, to discuss whether or not that would be a good decision. Kellen Moore is not a guy that I've spent a lot of time talking about on this show. He's kind of a new name to the mix. But he's very much in the same vein as Joe Brady, as a young, offensive-minded, quarterback-driven coach who has had some success calling plays in the NFL, specifically this year. Both guys had offenses in their respective conferences championship games. Kellen Moore's now got one in the Super Bowl. So what is the profile on Kellen Moore? Y'all know his background as a player, and that really is rooted in his immense success at Boise State, where he won more games than anybody in the history of college football. He broke Colt McCoy's record for wins there at Boise State. And he bounced around the NFL for a good amount of time for a fairly undersized quarterback with not a very strong arm and not a very good athlete. But he did hang around a while, and there's good reason for that. It's because he's a football guy. And if it wasn't indicated in his playing career that lasted probably longer than his skill set indicated it should have, it should speak volumes that he literally came off the sidelines with the helmet and shoulder pads on, put them on the ground, picked up a headset, and was immediately hired. He went from backup quarterback in Dallas to quarterback coach in Dallas. Literally went from facing the coach in the room with the quarterbacks to going to the front and facing the quarterbacks as the coach. That's how quickly that turnaround happened for Kellen Moore in Dallas. And he was put in charge early on. In 2020, which you're going back now 5 years of Kellen Moore calling plays, the Cowboys were a 6-10 football team that was not in the top 10 in any relevant offensive statistic. But I'm going to give Kellen Moore a pass for that season because Dak Prescott started 5 games, and then Andy Dalton started 9 games, and Garrett Gilbert started a game, and Ben DiNucci started a game. So you didn't finish in the top 10 in anything in 2020, but it was a weird season with all the COVID stuff, and you had injuries, and you started 4 different quarterbacks, 2 of which are not NFL quality quarterbacks. I don't really care what Kellen Moore did in 2020. But since then, it's been a really nice run of calling offenses for Kellen Moore. He was the play caller in 2021 for a 12-5 Dallas Cowboy football team. They had Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, and Amari Cooper was still on that team. They finished first in the NFL in touchdowns scored that year. They were 7th in the NFL in yards per carry rushing, which is very, very good. They were 3rd in the NFL in passing yards and 5th in the NFL in yards per attempt. That's a superb offense. More touchdowns than anybody in the league, won 12 games. That's really good work there from Kellen Moore. The next year in 2022, you had CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard and Zeke Elliott. Dalton Schultz emerged there as a tight end. You had to start Cooper Rush in 5 games that year when Dak Prescott went down. Dak was your starter, but Cooper Rush did play in 5 games. Still, the Cowboys, with a backup quarterback playing for a third of the season, were 3rd in the NFL in touchdowns, 8th in rushing yards. They had a good offense and won 12 football games. I would consider that a solid effort. Then they moved on from Kellen Moore, and Mike McCarthy assumed the play calling duties in Dallas, and he moved on to the Los Angeles, as it were, Chargers. I don't think that'll ever come out of my brain, but that's okay. He went on to the Chargers, and it did not go well. They had Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson. They were 5-12. They were 25th in the NFL in touchdowns scored. They were 27th in yards per carry rushing. They did finish 9th in the NFL in passing, but only 21st in yards per attempt. Bad team. Played from behind a lot. Didn't produce as much on offense as probably the skill players would indicate you should have. That was not a great year for offense in LA. One reason or another, it just wasn't. So he moves on from there as Jim Harbaugh comes over to coach the Chargers, and he goes to Philly. And in Philly, this year, they're obviously in the Super Bowl. You're talking about a team you understand with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. That's a really, really talented group. 7th in the NFL in touchdowns this year. They were 2nd in the NFL in rushing behind the best back in the league this year. 7th in yards per attempt passing the ball with Jalen Hurts. That's a good offense. They did a good job this year. So as I look back over the last 5 seasons, I would suggest that one of them was basically a wash in 2020 because you had ridiculous injuries in quarterback situations. I don't know how anyone could have reasonably held that together. But you look at the other 4, and 3 were really good, and 1 was not good. It's a pretty good run. And I would say this. Look at the quarterbacks he's won with. He's won with Dak Prescott. He's won with Cooper Rush. He's won with Jalen Hurts. Those are very different players. You had very much run-heavy offense with this Steelers group. With Dak, you're throwing it a little bit more. You had CeeDee Lamb on the outside. Now, look, Tony Pollard was a good player, and Zeke was on kind of the end there, but you had really good players on the outside with CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz and Amari Cooper, and that's a different model than what you would have had in other stops. So I feel like there's a little bit of better phrase this way. It's not like he's hitched his wagon to one guy and one coach, and that's the only way he can be successful. It's kind of the Eric Bieniemy argument, right? Like, okay, yeah, he did a good job with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. What'd you do elsewhere? Didn't do well in Washington, didn't do well at UCLA. Like, he hitched his wagon successfully to one guy. You could make that argument for Joe Brady right now. Well, he's doing well with Josh Allen. How'd that work in Carolina? With Kellen Moore, at least it's a couple different stops, a couple different quarterbacks, different circumstances, and solid results in 3 of the 4. I think from an X's and O perspective, from a play calling perspective, from an offensive innovation perspective, Kellen Moore's done a good job. That's really all I can vouch for. I don't know what kind of staff he could put together. I don't know how he would handle in-game stuff as a head coach. I don't know how he would run an organization as far as culture goes, as far as day-to-day stuff goes. I don't know how he is relating to players in the locker room. All that stuff is kind of beyond me. You would have to do a lot of asking around as the Saints brass as far as talking to people that he's worked with in the league. Thankfully, you don't have to make one location's worth of calls. You can call Dallas. You can call the Chargers. You can certainly call Philly. And there are going to be different people that have worked different places as far as players, player personnel. Like there are different references you can have here. And I can't, with any degree of confidence, speak to how Kellen Moore checks those boxes. He's young. He's run a good offense. I think that it is a feather in his cap that he immediately went from a player to a coach within the same organization. That tells me how much respect he had garnered from that group. And I think that there are some real positives there of the stuff that I can measure objectively. I simply don't know the other stuff. He did play for a while. That gives you a reasonable indication that he can relate to the player, having played a lot. But that's not always the biggest deal. All the players loved Sean Payton. It's not like he had a long, illustrious NFL career. So you never really know that until you know. I feel comfortable and confident saying Mike McCarthy knows how to come in, assemble a staff, and run a program. You know that. You don't know that with Kellen Moore. It's impossible to know. But I do like some of the characteristics of his resume this early on. And if you're the Saints and you're going floor versus ceiling here, which is a discussion we've had a ton, if you're going floor versus ceiling, the floor is really low here, but the ceiling could be exceptionally high. I think the floor is pretty high with Mike McCarthy. I don't know what the ceiling is after this many years of not really making a jump. But those are two very different discussions. And the Saints organization is in a very different place than the Dallas organization and the Philly organization. It's its own entity. And it's a hire that I'm certainly not here to criticize if they make it. Actually, I think I would probably be okay with it. But it is one that carries a substantial amount of risk if the Saints want to go in that direction. We'll continue to monitor this. I still feel like by the end of the day Friday, the Saints are going to have a head coach. I don't know that it's going to be Kellen Moore, but I feel like there's a real possibility of that. They can't officially announce him this week. They'll have to wait till after the Super Bowl for that. But you could get a report that, according to sources, that such and such has learned that the Saints are finalizing an agreement to land Kellen Moore as the franchise's next head coach. And you wouldn't get any tweets from the Saints but you would understand that that's kind of where things rested. We haven't gotten there yet. It's early in the week, and the Saints brass has a lot to deal with at this point. I know that the Saints are a punching bag for a lot right now. I made my case clear yesterday. I'm not in that mode right now of just absolutely hammering the Saints. Let's see the results of this thing. If it's Kellen Moore, we'll discuss that. I think there's reason to think that's a reasonable idea. So that's our Genesis opening drive here on this Tuesday. When we come back, let's talk a little bit of baseball here. What does the catcher position look like? If you read it at LouisianaSports.net this morning, you kind of already know. If you didn't, I'll tell you next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website, whether it's your surround sound, your home entertainment system where you're going to watch the games moving forward. Maybe it's an outdoor space where you want to have the electronic hookup there. You want to have a television in your outdoor area, whether it's an outdoor kitchen, pool. Maybe you just want to have it out there on the back patio where you spend some time as the spring weather comes on in. If that's the case, you're looking for that television or that sound system that's put in outside, Audio Video Security Solutions is happy to help you with that. The best thing about working with AVSS is you're working with a local company. You're dealing with people's cell phones in a lot of cases, including Mitchell Fisher's, which is 225-439-7920. Again, it's 225-439-7920. Give him a call. He's your point person. Great to have the owner of the company as the one you are working with to get your project done. If you're anywhere in our listening area, in and around Baton Rouge, Audio Video Security Solutions is happy to help you. You can find them on Instagram at AVSS_BR. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
We'll talk to Glenn West about a little hoops here in 15 minutes. Might get a baseball thought or two from Glenn as well. Always talk to our guy from Go 24/7 on Tuesdays. Let's talk some baseball right now. I've got a position preview series that cranked up today on LouisianaSports.net. Every morning we'll preview a position over the next 10 days or so. And I started with catcher. I think that's a big spot here. It's obviously a starting point outside of pitching for the defensive in the scorebook, and I thought it was a good starting point for this series as well. You lose Alex Milazzo, you lose Hayden Travinski, you lose Brady Neal. Those 3 players have started the last 137 straight games for LSU at catcher. That is 2 full seasons. You'd have to go back to the Hattiesburg Regional to find a game that it wasn't started by Milazzo, Travinski, or Brady Neal behind the plate. That's a big deal. And LSU obviously was going to have to overhaul that entire position for this season, and they've done their best to do that. You bring in Luis Hernandez, a transfer from Indiana State. You bring in Blaze Priester, a transfer who was initially at LSU, then to Meridian Community College. You bring in Eddie Yaman, a transfer from Dayton, and you bring in Cade Arambidi, a star-studded freshman. It's my understanding that after the fall, Luis Hernandez had a slight lead at the catcher spot. Cade Arambidi was right behind him. Jay Johnson told the catchers entering the fall, we're focusing on defense here. Defense is the priority. And the players took that to heart. Now, the problem is you've got Luis Hernandez, who didn't really catch in 3 years at Indiana State. He appeared at 20 games at catcher in 2022, 1 in 2023, and 3 in 2024. So over the last 2 seasons, he's caught 4 times. You're talking about a guy in Blaze Priester who has caught at the junior college level but is a bat-first catcher. And you're talking about Cade Arambidi, who is a freshman and has never caught at this level. And I got to tell you, like, among the defensive positions, there's probably not a more difficult one to adjust to than catcher. You can go play left field. You can play left field in high school. You can probably play left field in college. You can play second base in high school when you're an elite level player. You can probably play second base. Catcher is a huge step up. One, you're not dealing with 86-mile-an-hour fastballs anymore and loopy breaking balls. Two, every guy on first and second base is the best player on that other team that was trying to steal every time. They will make you pay more than Joe High Schooler possibly can. So it's way more difficult to catch. You've got to be way more on your toes with the base runners. Any ball that skips away, those guys are going to get a good read. Like, it's just a very, very difficult defensive position to grow up and grow into. And Cade Arrambedi's been catching his entire life, but this is a different animal. And I told you all yesterday, on Sunday, he struggled a little bit. He threw a ball into right field on a bunt, and he struggled to keep some wild pitches in front of him. So right now, Luis Hernandez is the leader by a little bit. What you know that you have is bat potential in these guys. Luis Hernandez had a OPS over 1,100 last year at Indiana State. He hit 23 home runs. He homered in the Lexington Regional. He doesn't walk a ton. He swings and misses a little bit. But if the power plays and he hits, let's say take that 23 home run mark and kick it down to 14. Like, that's a good offensive season for a catcher if he gets a season's worth of at-bats, and that'd be a better offensive output than LSU had last year at the catcher position for sure. Because, to be clear, Travinski did hit 16 home runs last year, but he didn't catch a ton. I'm looking it up. If you look at LSU last year at catcher, yeah. So Brady Neal hit like $140 in SEC play as a catcher, and Alex Milazzo for the season had 4 extra base hits. Travinski only caught 12 games. So the offense was pretty much non-existent for LSU at catcher last year. Milazzo hit for a far higher average than we could have thought, but he had 4 extra base hits. He bunted a lot. He was not an offensive force. He was better than we thought he was going to be, but far from a force. If Luis Hernandez hits 14 home runs in that spot, that's a big-time upgrade at the catcher spot. Brady Neal hit 9 home runs last year, and only 2 of them came in league play. 7 of them came against non-conference play, hit 2 at Rice, and that kind of deal. So you're going to get an upgrade offensively if it's Hernandez doing a little bit less than what he did at Indiana State, or if Arrambedi hits the way he's been hitting. Again, I told you, he hit 360 in the fall against SEC pitching. And on Sunday, he had 2 great at-bats against the back end of LSU's pitching staff. Arrambedi's 6'3". He's got a strong arm. He's quick. He's got bat speed. He feels like very much the catcher of the future for LSU. The question is, where's that future? Is it Hernandez's job for a year and then Arrambedi takes over as a sophomore? Is it Hernandez's job for half the year and then Arrambedi kind of catches up and Hernandez kicks over to DH? Or does Cade Arrambedi just show up from the middle of February and hit like crazy and play good enough defense, and he's your starting catcher for 3 years? That's kind of where I am with this position. And right now, I think Luis Hernandez is likely the starter for now, and I think it's likely that you're going to see a lot of Hernandez and a lot of Arrambedi behind the plate the first 4 weeks of the season. I think you're going to see those guys do a lot of rotating. It's possible that Jay Johnson looks at some pitcher-to-catcher relationships as far as who wants to catch Cade Anderson and who wants to catch Chase Shores and what bat you need in there on Sunday and who needs a day. Like, there are multiple things that go into the catcher spot that don't necessarily go into right field. Catchers need a day off here and there, and catchers have to catch a pitcher. The right fielder just hits and goes and plays right field. So there are more factors in who your everyday catcher is going to be. But I think Hernandez is the guy at the beginning, and I think that Arrambedi is going to push and push and push, and we'll see just how much that tug-of-war moves. Priester has a huge power bat. He hit more home runs than anybody on the team in the fall. So that's a guy that Jay Johnson is going to want to get February and early March at bats to. I don't know how many of those come from the catcher spot. If LSU gets up 16-3 a couple of times, yep, I think Priester will come in there in the 6th or 7th inning and maybe catch a little bit and swing the bat once or twice. Yes, I think Blaze Priester absolutely warrants a look at the designated hitter spot here and there, maybe against good left-handers. You've got some guys with real bat potential. Hernandez has shown power in college ball. Arrambedi hit a ton in the fall, and Priester hit a ton in the fall as well. Defense has got to be the most important thing, and that is one of my chief concerns with this team. It's defense up the middle, with catcher being unsettled, with shortstop right now being unsettled, with second base and Dickinson not being – I'm not, like, completely doubting that, but I need to see it. And then I don't know who the center fielder is either. I mean, Stanfield can do it. Jake Brown's a really good athlete. Maybe Derek Curiel finds his way over there. Like, there are options at all these places, but none of it's settled, and that gives me some pause. What do you always hear about great defensive baseball teams? They're really good up the middle. They're good at catcher. They're good in the middle infield spots, and they're good in center field. And LSU right now can't say that definitively, and that's a concern of mine. I'm concerned about the fact that I don't know who the ace is. I'm concerned a little bit about where the power comes from. Catcher could alleviate that big time. They could solidify the defense and hit a bunch of home runs and be far more productive than LSU's catcher spot last year. I'm not. The point of this is not to tell you that I think that LSU is in a terrible spot defensively up the middle. The point is to tell you it's uncertain, and that gives me a little bit of pause. But there should be a lot of things that give me pause in late January. When the teams that don't have that are the outlier. Like 17, not a lot of question marks entering that year. Had like everybody was coming back. Lang, Poche, Dykman, Papierski, Kramer, Cole Freeman. Like you had everybody back. Bo Jordan. And it was like, okay, I kind of know what they are. They need to go play. 23, you had superpowers. And those teams are phenomenal. And we hope that this team reaches those heights and plays for a national championship. But more often than not, especially in the transfer portal era, you're going to sit here in late January and early February, and even late February after they start playing, with some questions about this and that. You would hope the questions are like, who's the third starter and who's the DH? Like those are good questions to have towards the back end. LSU's got more than that because there's a lot of turnover on this team. My concern level with catcher is like a 4. It's not an 8. It's like a 4, but it is a 4. It's not a 0. If you ask me if I could have Hernandez, Arambidi, Priester, or I could take Michael Papierski one more year, I'll take Papierski. I know I'm getting 260. I know I'm getting 9-11 homers, and I know I'm getting pretty good defense. And I would take that. There's a little bit more volatility here. Maybe Hernandez and Arambidi aren't ready to play defense. Maybe Hernandez's power from the Indiana State days doesn't translate to facing Texas A&M and Florida. Maybe Arambidi's not ready. Maybe Pleaster can't be the defensive guy. There's a floor here that's lower than in some previous years with your catcher. Certainly last year you had guys coming back. You knew what you were going to get from Travinsky's pop and Milazzo's defense and scrappiness and leadership and ability to bunt and move the ball. And you hoped Brady Neal grew into a star, and that didn't end up happening. And he moved on to Tuscaloosa after hitting $140 in league play. But I'm not overly concerned. I'm just telling you that there are some things that need to be worked out, and I'll continue to monitor that as time goes on here in preseason practice. That's part 1 of our baseball position series. You can find it on the homepage right now at louisianasports.net. Also got some cool news about Paul Skeens being on MLB 25 show. Got some news from the Senior Bowl, a hypothetical mock draft if Kellen Moore were the Saints pick for head coach. Ross Jackson's got that from Mobile. So lots of cool stuff over there at louisianasports.net. We'll step aside when we come back. Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, talking Tigers next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Maybe you're thinking about getting into the market for a new car. Just thinking about it. But you're also in that process going, I don't really like going to dealerships. I don't like when I walk on the lot and I feel like I've kicked an anthill and there's people swarming all over the place and it's just a little bit of pressure. I don't want to deal with it. That's not going to be the case at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You walk in, you've got an amazing team of brand ambassadors that are happy to help you. You'll feel like a guest, not a customer. If you don't want to go to the dealership, that's understandable too. You don't have to. Go to the website, genesisofbatonrouge.com, and you can go ahead and start your shopping process there. They do digital delivery. They'll test drive remotely. They'll come to you. They'll come to your business. They'll come to your house. You get behind the wheel with one of their brand ambassadors. You drive it around. You can see what it's about. If you decide that's what you want, you can do an e-contract, digital delivery. That car's yours. You never set foot on the lot. I would recommend going to the lot. Airline at PQ, right there, across from Women's Hospital. But you never have to. That's part of being a shopper at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play. with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Every Tuesday, we chat with our guy, Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, all your team coverage, hoops, football, baseball. He's got you covered. Sonny and the gang over there with recruiting as well. Always a good time to check them out over at Go 24/7. Glenn joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how we doing?
Doing great, Hunt. I'm ready for some baseball. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get in that mode.
You lie. You do know about me. You know exactly about me, and you know exactly how I feel about that. So we'll get there sooner or later. It's coming here in the next few weeks. We got basketball right now. Surprised LSU hung around in Tuscaloosa as long as they did?
I don't know that surprise is the word. I think just kind of pleasant, maybe a pleasant surprise. I mean, I don't know that any of us had expectations that LSU would be able to keep this one pretty close going into it, but I thought they did a really nice job of taking the aggression and the hustle to Alabama in that first half in particular. I thought that LSU was really physical and was able to dive after loose balls. They were grabbing offensive rebounds out the wazoo. I mean, Corey Chess, you won't get a more passionate performance from a player than what you saw Corey Chess do, especially early in that game. But you kind of could see the writing on the wall as they were just not making shots. That it was just a matter of time before Alabama was going to create some separation, and they were finally able to do so in the final 5-6 minutes of that game. But still, I think it's something you can build on if you're LSU. This isn't a program that I think you ever want to see moral victories for, and but the fact of the matter is that they did not go into this game with very much expectations, and they were able to, at least for one game, show that they can compete with some of the top programs in the SEC. And now you got to try to string it together here against one of the more dominant teams that I've seen in the last several years of college basketball.
Yeah, we'll talk about Auburn here in a second because they're pretty salty. Can Trades Green help LSU?
I think so. I mean, it was only a 9-minute sample size, and he's only been with the program for 2 weeks. But if that's the effort we're going to get after him only being with the team for 2 weeks, he didn't look out of place. I mean, he wasn't getting, beat off the dribble a whole ton. He had one drive, I think, in the second half where he was beat off the dribble on the baseline and gave up a layup. But I mean, he was active, especially on the glass. I mean, he only had 9 minutes, but he had 3 rebounds in 9 minutes, and was able to extend some possessions. He actually got his hand on one long 3-point attempt and was able to kind of bat it out for a second chance opportunity and keep a drive alive. So look, I think he looks big out there, 6'7", 245. He should be able to throw his muscle around and help LSU on the boards, maybe around the rim. And then obviously that block shot that he was able to take coast to coast was just a little sample size of what he could potentially become if he were to stick with basketball and really put in the time. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how his role grows over the next several weeks. But this team certainly could use that athleticism and that size as they go through the rest of their schedule.
This has been something I've picked up on since I dipped my toe back into the writing waters and have interviewed the players a little bit over the last year. Well, it's only been like 5-6 months, but the players don't take losses as hard as the fan base does. The football team was that way, and the basketball team certainly was early in the year covering them. Have you noticed anything different in the last couple of weeks now that the losses have started to stack up as far as the players go?
I really haven't. I mean, I'll kind of caution it by saying this. We don't really talk with the players outside of just after games.
Yeah.
And honestly, the last time we talked to one of the players was after a win against Arkansas a couple weeks ago. So, I don't know that much has changed in terms of how they take losses and all that stuff. I couldn't really speak to that, but I can say that I think that week off, that week in between games, between the the one last Saturday and the one on Saturday against Alabama, you could tell they'd worked on some things, and they were a little bit more disciplined and a little more physical, and if that kind of stuff can carry on, can continue to build confidence, hopefully, with this team, then they should be able to get to at least compete in some of these games, especially down the stretch here. But I as far as how hard they take losses and things of that nature, I think if you're an athlete and if you compete at the level that they do, I'm sure they take most losses pretty hard. But you got to come back and flush it and move on to the next.
The next is Auburn. We were talking yesterday, and you seem to think that Auburn looks pretty good on paper. What impressed you?
Yeah, wild take there. That's a hot take for sure. No, I mean, I was just looking at all the stats, and I was texting with you and our other colleague, Matthew Bruni, last night. I'm like, this team just certainly doesn't seem to do anything wrong. I mean, you look at the stats and you're saying, oh, they're only 43rd in offensive rebounds in the country in terms of grabbing 11. Well, that's because they make most of their shots, and they don't really need to grab offensive rebounds when you're making most of your shots. So if LSU is able to kind of limit the second chance opportunities for Auburn, maybe they have a chance. If they're able to be physical with Auburn the way they were with Alabama, maybe they can hang around for a while and make this a sweaty game for the visiting Auburn Tigers. But this is a well-oiled machine that Bruce Pearl has coming into this game, and they've got talent out the wazoo. 6 players I think are averaging double digits in scoring, led by Johnny Broom, who I think is probably playing at the highest level of any player in the country right now. So it's a tall task for LSU tonight, or I should say Wednesday night. But they showed some things in that Alabama game that make you believe that they can hang around for a little bit, but at the end of the day, they got to make shots, and they got to be a little bit more efficient from three-point land if they want a real legit chance of staying in this game.
Jay Johnson, say anything on Friday that piqued your interest about practice starting up?
There's so much that he says throughout the press conferences that it's I'm trying to rack my brain here, but I think kind of the overarching takeaway that I have is that we might get a month into the season and still have no idea what some of these positions are going to look like in terms of outfield, starting pitching, catcher. I mean, I think they're going to be extremely diligent in those decisions by the time SEC play gets here. I think you're going to see every combination possible numerous times. And I think they have. I think this is one of the deeper teams that they've had on this roster. I don't know if it's the most talented, top heavy, but they have a lot of talent on this team, and they have a lot of depth at a lot of positions. And so, figuring out the pieces there in the outfield at catcher, certainly on the mound with the 8 guys that are going to be stretching out to be starters. There's a lot of things that I think we're going to be able to learn over the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season before SEC play gets here. And that was something that I think Jay kind of messaged to the media in most of his answers is, we've got a lot of work to do in terms of figuring that stuff out, which is a good problem to have.
You have a early lean on a Friday night starter?
I like Cade Anderson, man. I mean, he was really good in the fall, and he's had a really nice start, here in the spring. I think Chase Shores, Connor Ware, all those guys will be, kind of given those opportunities to potentially be that Friday night guy. But, in terms of just what the first weekend looked like, I thought Anderson looked as composed and poised as any pitcher that was out there in his 3 innings. And so we'll see if he can continue to build on it and secure one of those spots. But I do think that there will be a lot of rotating in and out with these pitchers, and especially early in the season when you don't stretch them as much. You throw them 3 or 4 innings, or you go 1 or 2 times through the order. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for other guys to certainly see what they look like in game-like situations.
So everybody, what y'all got going on at Go 24/7 over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we got a big junior day coming up this weekend. A lot of recruits from 2026 and 2027 will be on campus this weekend, and so we'll keep everybody in the loop of who's going to be in town. Obviously, we got baseball coming up. It's a big basketball weekend, not only just with Auburn coming to town on Wednesday, but you got Texas, I think, later this weekend as well. So there's going to be a lot to kind of cover over the next several weeks. They never seems to die down with LSU, which is a good thing for us. So yeah. Come hang out with us on the message boards, and Hunt, we'll see you out there around baseball and basketball here over the next couple weeks.
Certainly will. I'll see you in the PMAC tomorrow. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Hunt.
He's Glenn West, senior writer over at Go 24/7. He mentioned that junior day that's coming up this weekend. The junior and sophomore classes in Louisiana are loaded. Loaded across the board, all kind of positions, all kind of players from all over the state. So it's really important for LSU to go and do the best they can to keep that fence around Louisiana. I know that a lot is made of the fact that the portal has become more of an emphasis, and spending your money there as opposed to high school kids seems like a more prudent play at this point, because high school kids tend to up and leave after a year or two if they don't immediately get to the field. But you still have to try to create that foundation in your program when you've got a state that's as fertile in recruiting as Louisiana is. I know that Brian Kelly's not taking any days off. I saw 2 pictures tweeted out over the last 24 hours of him in high schools all over the state of Louisiana. So he's been working it hard, and we'll see if they can continue to restock the shelves with really good players here in the state of Louisiana. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team just do fantastic work. I told you the story last week about the conversation I had where they got a client to switch from one broker to the Highland Insurance Group because this is a commercial property owner that had 5 different locations, and all of them were on one general liability policy that was worth $1 million. Well, the Highland Insurance Group looked at that and said, well, you can do that a little bit more efficiently. And they put $1 million in each location, so $5 million total, for the same premium. It's that kind of expertise, that kind of flexibility, that kind of knowledge and understanding of the marketplace that separates the Highland Insurance Group from a lot of different insurance brokers out there. They're an independent brokerage. That means they've got relationships with dozens of different markets. They can put your business in the proper insurance position so that you're taken care of in the event that something goes wrong. That's what the insurance business is all about. And the Highland Insurance Group is here to help you. Trust them like you trust your attorney, like you trust your CPA. Trust your Highland Insurance broker. Give them a call or check them out online at HighlandIG.com. It's Jonathan Carbo and his team at HighlandIG.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Shout out to the boys in the morning, hanging out at the Reese's Senior Bowl in Mobile all week long. 2 shows down, 2 to go for Jake and T-Bob in Mobile. Practice just cranking up. I was reading a tweet from Ross Jackson, said that Mason Taylor just made a nice catch on a pass from Jalen Milroe, because of course that's how things work over there at the Reese's Senior Bowl. The travel over there and the shows all week long on our air are going to be brought to you by LeBear's Baton Rouge, and we certainly appreciate them for doing that. And the guys have had some incredible content. Already had Mason Taylor on. Yesterday talked with Ole Miss, former defensive lineman at Ole Miss, Walter Nolan. That's an interesting story of a guy that started at Texas A&M and went over to Ole Miss. And a lot of content's going to be coming your way on a lot of different angles from us down there at the Senior Bowl. You're going to have, obviously, the morning show guys each and every day from 7 to 10. You'll also have some great interviews that we're going to put up on YouTube, and then we're going to use some of that for LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson is there from LouisianaSports.net as well from a Saints angle. They had the opportunity to interview Mike Kafka today, so some of that content going to be coming your way. And apparently there's rumors afoot that Mike Kafka may be joining the boys on Off the Bench tomorrow morning, which would be fantastic as well. So if you're looking for some Senior Bowl, you're just looking for your football fix, looking for some Senior Bowl action, you can find that at LouisianaSports.net right here on our airwaves and, of course, on our YouTube channels as well. Got some cool news earlier today that I'll pass along from an LSU baseball perspective. MLB 25 The Show just released its cover. And on the cover, they went with the young guns. They went with Gunnar Henderson from the Orioles, who's phenomenal. They went with Ellie De La Cruz, who is maybe as good an athlete as there is in Major League Baseball. And then they went with Pittsburgh Pirates Rookie of the Year and third place in the Cy Young All-Star Game starter, Paul Skeens, who adorns that cover as well. So it's 3 young players on the cover that made a huge impact in the sport last year. Of course, Skeens maybe chief among those based on what he did, becoming the first rookie to start the All-Star games at Hideo Nomo in 1995, finishing third in the Cy Young. He's now the front runner in terms of the betting money to win the Cy Young this next year. And just another feather in the cap of LSU that continues this assault on the national headlines. And that's only going to grow here in the next coming weeks when Jaden Daniels gets named the NFL Rookie of the Year. It's just wild, the amount of star power that this college, this town, this community, this athletic program has produced. And today was a really cool spot for Paul Skeens.
Yeah, and apparently with this new game, they're going to be giving you an option that there's a game mode in the show where you can start from like the minor leagues and work your way up. It's called Road to the Show. Anyway, they're going to be adding in colleges apparently because LSU's logo, I think, was seen in some of the stuff that they've released so far for the new game. So you'll be able to play it at LSU in your journey to making it to the MLB if you choose, of course.
So when they came out with that college baseball video game, MVP, at that very brief time, I mean, I'd have to go back and look what year it is. It was
like
somewhere,
09, I think.
No, it was right after 2000, because the players that were depicted were very clearly Ryan Patterson, Quinn Stewart, Ivan Nakarada, Nick Stavenall. Like, it was the smoke era team that had all those guys around 03, 04. But
they kept making it for a while, but the first one was in 2003.
Yeah, so it was right around there because I had that game. You could play at Miami. You could play at the Box. Man, I'm not sure what other college facilities they even had on that. I know Miami and I know Alec Box were there, or else you kind of played in like nondescript facilities. But I played that game so much, and like some of it was like completely wrong. Like I think Quinn Stewart may have hit left-handed or something on the game. It was not nearly as name, image, and likeness friendly as the NCAA game. It was just very clearly all the guys that you knew and the numbers and the states where they were from and the sizes and the speed profiles and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was a little bit off with all that. I mean, the Harris brothers may have been involved there, Clay and Will. But I can definitely tell you that Quinn Stewart, Ryan Patterson, and Nick Stavenall are like the best 3 hitters on the team. And I played that game all the time. I didn't play a lot of Major League Baseball games after Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball in '98, which was a game I played. I mean, I couldn't even ballpark the hours. Me and my buddy, for like 4 summers straight, played 11 a.m. to 4 a.m. almost every day. Like, it was just constant. We played multiple 162-game seasons as the Cubs. Of course, they were not the real Cubs. They were Mike Piazza, Frank Thomas, Tony Gwynn, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds, Chipper Jones, Ken Caminiti, A-Rod, Jeter, Kurt Schilling, Greg Maddux. Like, this is who we traded to the Cubs, which was an option there. But it's really cool for Paul Skeens to be on the face of that. It's not necessarily his. I doubt he's much of a gamer, just like knowing a little bit about Paul Skeens, and I don't really think he cares that much about some of this stuff. It was evident when he gets announced as the Rookie of the Year, and like Livy goes nuts, and he's just kind of sitting there like, yeah, cool. Like he's just kind of steady like that. But it's a cool thing for him. It's a cool thing for LSU, and it's just another example of the profile of LSU being raised. And I'm confident that a lot of the coaches on LSU's campus are going to use some of the platform that these athletes that have moved on have created to show what's possible at LSU. Now, not everybody that comes in is at the talent level of some of these student athletes we're talking about, but some of the guys that LSU's recruiting are at the top of their class, and it shows that, like, hey, you can come here, you can compete for championships at just about all these sports, you can get massive NIL opportunities, you can be developed to go to the next level, and then once you get to the next level, you'll have the tools to excel at the next level. And Dylan got to the big leagues really quickly, and Skeens dominated in the big leagues, and we saw Angel Reese was awesome in her time in the WNBA, and we saw Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas set the NFL on fire. And like it continues to show that if you come here, and you play for these coaches and you play against this competition and you use the resources at your disposal, then you can become something great. Jaden Daniels and Paul Skeens and really even Angel Reese were not nearly what they became at LSU, what they were in their first collegiate stops. And they're also, I think, endorsements of the transfer portal. I think there are probably a lot of LSU fans that would sit here and listen to me and say, I hate the transfer portal. It's terrible, ruining sports. Well, I kind of liked having Skeens and White, and I kind of like having Angel Reese, and I kind of like having Jaden Daniels. I kind of liked Joe Burrow being here. I think Luke Holman and Gage Jump were a nice add to last year's baseball team, and I'm kind of excited about what a couple of guys can do on this team. Maybe to you that doesn't justify it, and I understand you just think if you make a commitment somewhere, you need to stick it out and try to get a degree there and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying from my perspective, as I always tell you, I'm kind of curious as to how it's going to affect LSU, and LSU's done a pretty good job in the transfer portal and has been helped far more than it's been massively hurt. So that's it for hour number one. We'll come back with a second hour here on a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. About 6:40 every night in the Palmer house. We send the kiddo to the bathtub. We use it. We got all kinds of monster trucks in there. We got bouncy balls in there. It's splashing. It's a disaster. It's a mess a lot of the time. So we use our tub. You may not use your tub ever. It may be a little bit older. It may be a little bit dingy. It may be taking up a lot of space. You don't ever take a bath. Well, then get rid of it. Get rid of the tub and put in a gorgeous walk-in glass shower. It's called a tub-to-shower conversion, and they do it at One Bath and Closets all the time. You can see pictures of their fantastic work at OneBathAndClosets.com and start the process of getting yours today. Go to the website, get the free consultation. That doesn't cost you anything. It's David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Heat's asking price of any team regarding a trade of Jimmy Butler has lowered over the past few weeks, reports ESPN's Brian Windhorst, as Miami's looking to deal him before next week's trade deadline, which is what he has demanded. The expectation is that more teams will now be inquiring about Butler. Securing a quarterback is the Steelers' priority, and owner and president Art Rooney II says it is his preference to sign either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson this offseason. It's unlikely they bring back both. Pittsburgh needs to answer one question to make that decision, suggests Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe.
Who do you believe long-term is your best option to go with? So for me, I'm looking at it like, okay, what are you looking for, Steelers? Are you talking about next 1 to 2 years, or are you looking long-term? If you're looking at 3 years and beyond, you go Justin Fields. If you're just looking at 1 to 2, but then you could guess what? After 2 years, Stephen A., you're going to be right back where you are right now.
Shannon Sharpe on First Take. Wilson's 36, Fields is 26. Cowboys hired former Bears head coach Matt Eberflus as their defensive coordinator. He's a former assistant in Dallas.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon, coming up Wednesday. Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? I'll tell you which QB the Steelers should re-sign if they want to start winning in the playoffs. It's Unsportsmanlike, weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Hope your work week's off to a good start. It feels like this is the first full work week we've had in a month and a half. I realized there was one at some point in early January, but I don't remember it. Then you had holidays and snow days, and it's just been all over the place over the last month. This is the first week I feel like we're pushing off the dock for the new year, and it's the 28th. So here we are. I hope your work week again is off to a good start, and thanks for hanging out with us. Sharif Ishak's going to jump aboard here in 30 minutes, talk about the Saints and where they are with their new head coaching search. I have a feeling Sharif is going to feel like the Saints are a laughingstock of the NFL. I've tried to push back against that notion a little bit. I know Matt kind of went in on it on AFR yesterday. Just show me the result. I don't really care that much about the process. I just want to see the result. And if you're going to tell me the Saints are a laughingstock because they couldn't land Aaron Glenn or Joe Brady, who have a combined 0 games worth of head coaching experience, well, we'll see. It's a crapshoot at this point. So if you're talking about free agents that you know are really good that won't come to you, well, that's a whole different story. But you're talking about coaches that have never coached before. I'm not ready to call the Saints a complete laughingstock just yet. We'll talk to Sharif about it coming up in 30 minutes. I wrote another little piece up at LouisianaSports.net on basketball today, and y'all are not going to be shocked by this. We have the numbers as to what gets clicked on and what does not on LouisianaSports.net, and our basketball stories generally don't break the internet with clicks. Not shocking. I think that's kind of where you all are as a fan base right now, and that's okay. Our job here, both on the radio station and on the website, is to make sure that we are super serving you with what you want to hear about. And right now, I'm just not in a position to talk about LSU basketball for 7 hours a week like I might if they were 8-0 in league play. We would do that if they were 8-0 in league play, and I would love it. Keep in mind, I'm the guy who came to this place before I even worked here and recorded a podcast every morning before going to work to sell insurance because I love watching LSU basketball and loved when they were playing well. But I know that I can't do that right now, and I have no intention of doing that right now. On today's show, we're going to do about 15 minutes of basketball. We did about 7 with Glenn. We're going to do about 7 here, and that's it for a 2-hour show. We're talking about baseball video games. We're talking about Saints coaching search. We're talking about the baseball catcher position And we'll talk Senior Bowl and stuff as the week goes on, Junior Day coming up. We're not going to spend a ton of time on basketball every day. But I do feel like I do need to cover the team. So I am going to give some information and opinion on the basketball team. And this I thought was interesting. I believe that even if you're not going to the PMAC to watch LSU play number 1 Auburn tomorrow, even if you didn't watch the game against Alabama on Saturday, I still think this is a reasonably interesting, statistically speaking, piece that I put up on the website and that I'll get into here based on what we thought in November and what now is the case with this team. While I do like to make fun of myself a little bit, I also want to hold myself accountable when I say something that turns out to be incorrect. Like, we have some fun with gambling segments where I do pat myself on the back for gambling things that I get right, and I like to make fun of myself a little bit when I get them wrong, but I also want to hold myself accountable. And I told you entering this season, back early November, hey, this team is going to shoot the ball pretty well. They're going to be kind of tough to guard because they're going to be able to stretch the floor, and they got a lot of guys that can make shots. And right now, not only are they like not shooting it great, they're almost shooting it as bad as anyone at the top end of college basketball. And when I say top end, I don't mean like top 25. I mean in the Power 5 conferences. Right now, LSU is the 4th worst Power 5 team in terms of three-point percentage. The 4th worst of all the Power 5 teams. Well, how many teams is that? It's 79. There are 3 teams out of 79 that shoot the three-pointer worse than LSU in the Power 5. And I told you they were going to shoot it pretty well. That's on me. That's a miss. Well, why did I say that? Why did I think that LSU would shoot the ball better? Well, I'll tell you why. Tyrell Ward was on this team on November the 1st. And I would have considered him at that point a sharpshooter. He shot 41% from three-point range as a sophomore, and almost 60% of his shots came from 3. He was a spot-up, dead-eye, better than 40% three-point shooter on this team. Jalen Reed at the 4 or the 5, depending on where you wanted to play him. Last year, he shot 39% from three-point range. That's obviously pretty close to 40%. He made 2 of his first 4 this year. That is a big at 6'10" that is a threat from three-point range. He tore his ACL. So you're 0 for 2 there. Jordan Sears was lethal from behind the arc last year at Tennessee Martin. He shot 43% from downtown. He finished 6th in the Ohio Valley in threes made. He's not doing any of that right now. 9 of 36 from the three-point range in SEC play. That is 25%. He is nearly 20 points worse than he was last year shooting the 3. That's 0 for 3. Cam Carter made 94 threes in 2 years as a starter at Kansas State, and he came out of the gate at LSU knocking them down all over the floor. He was at 43% from the 3 in the non-conference. What's he doing in league play? 32%. He's down 11 points from the three-point line. Mike Williams, last year, true freshman, shot almost 40%, 39% from 3 in league games. He's shooting 19%. That's 20 points down. Ward quit the team. Reed blew out his knee. Sears is almost 20 points down. Cam Carter is 10 points down from non-conference. Mike Williams is 20 points down from last year. Victorious Miller has been out, shot it poorly to start SEC play. Curtis Givens hasn't shot it well. Those two have combined 9 for 32 on threes in league games. That is 28%. You had 5 promising shooters who had done this in college basketball and 2 encouraging freshmen. And you have gotten a nothing burger from all 7 in league play outside of one Cam Carter haymaker in the second half against Arkansas. That is very difficult for me to forecast in November. I apologize for doing it. I'm sorry for leading you astray. That is very difficult for me to sit there and hypothesize. And I think that part of it is bad luck. Certainly the Jalen Reed deal is bad luck. Part of it is lower conference players not translating to the next level. Part of it is a white-hot start from Cam Carter that maybe he couldn't sustain. And part of it's just, again, crummy luck. Guys not making shots. I told you that LSU was the 4th worst three-point shooting team in the Power 5. And I went to the internet to find that stat, figure out what teams were worse than them, and then opine on how teams that don't shoot the three well are doing. And I tell you this all the time. I often go digging for statistics. Sometimes they back me up. Sometimes they paint a completely different story. The 3 teams that have shot the three worse than LSU this year in the Power 5 are St. John's, Wake Forest, and Michigan State. And I haven't paid a ton of attention to those teams out. When LSU's really good, I lock in nationally. When they don't, I pretty much stay in the SEC. That's what I've done thus far. So I figured, well, I've seen LSU shoot. They're not winning any games. Let me look at what St. John's, Wake, and Michigan State are doing since they're not shooting worth a flip. And I figured it'd be really bad. The stats did not tell that story. Wake Forest is 15-5 overall. They are 7-2 in league play. Well, how are they doing that? In a modern era of basketball that requires making shots, what are they doing? Well, they're holding opponents to the 13th lowest shooting percentage in the country. They've got the 33rd ranked scoring defense in the country, and they don't take very many threes. They're 244th in attempted threes. They know they're not good at it. They don't do it. They play really good defense. Michigan State, they're not making threes. I've heard their coach is decent. What's going on there? They're 17-2. They have not lost a Big Ten game. They're 8-0. Why? How? They simply don't shoot threes. They're 321st in threes attempted. Meanwhile, they're 6th in the country in rebounding. They're 6th in the country in free throw attempts. They're 3rd in free throw percentage. And they play great defense. 19th in the country in defensive efficiency. They do it a different way. St. John's, how do they offset it? Well, they're different than Michigan State altogether. But they've had a good go thus far. They've done it because they play at a frantic pace. They take more shots than anybody in the country. They've made the 10th most field goals of anybody in the nation, even though they don't make threes. And they play great defense. They're 9th in the country in two-point defense, and they're 12th in the country in steals. LSU has a problem shooting the ball, obviously. But they haven't found another strength to offset it. There are a couple of stats that are pretty good. LSU's 34th in the country in defensive efficiency. They're 85th in offensive rebounding, which is very much respectable. But those aren't the elite metrics I'm talking about. Michigan State gets to the line a ton and makes them all. They also defend like crazy. St. John's plays really, really fast. They make a lot of twos, don't shoot a lot of threes. Wake plays great on defense. And LSU doesn't have any of those elite metrics. Plus, they turn the ball over as much as anybody. They're 323rd in the country in turnover rate. It's crippling to a team that struggles to make shots. And I thought without Jalen Reed doing some things in the front court on the block, helping LSU score around the rim, that LSU was going to have to make threes to, one, spread the defense out for drivers. If you're going to count on your backcourt to do everything, you need some space to do that. And two, just to get points. Well, you're 75th. So 76th of 79 teams in the Power 5 and shooting the three. And they simply can't overcome it. It's an amazing thing that I just did not see coming at all. But you lose Tyrell Ward, you lose Jalen Reed. Sears is 20 points worse. Williams 20 points worse. Miller and Gibbons struggling to adapt. And Carter cooling off. They don't have a second punch to throw. And that's just a huge bummer with this team, and one that, look, I told you in November that I thought they were a bubble team. I told you before the first conference game, I thought they were a bubble team. And then we saw the writing on the wall against Vanderbilt, and now you kind of look up and go, okay, where do I find my wins? And nobody's going to suggest that tomorrow is a great chance to get one. Could they beat Texas at home? Sure. But I told you all along they had to get to 7 or 8, and that path you still have to play Mississippi State, and you still have to play Florida, and you still have to play Tennessee. You still have to play Kentucky. It's just unforgiving at this point, and we'll see, because tomorrow the number one team in the country comes to the Assembly Center to play LSU in the form of the Auburn Tigers. So just a look at some hoops. We'll leave that in the rearview mirror now. Sharif Ishak talking some Saints coming up in 15 minutes. Don't go anywhere. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Safety important to you when you're buying a vehicle? Of course it is. Well, Genesis of Baton Rouge should be on your shopping list then, because every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end, come with the same baseline safety features. The entire line, not like one or two of them, the entire line of Genesis vehicles was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of them were top safety picks plus. Yes, it's obvious when you get behind the wheel that they're comfortable. Yes, it's obvious when you look at them that they're stylish and they're sleek. Yes, when you sit behind the wheel, you see all the bells and whistles and all the entertainment options, and all that's fantastic. But they also do not skimp on safety at all at Genesis. If you have never thought about getting behind the wheel of a Genesis, go to Genesis of Baton Rouge and try them today. They're on Airline at PICU, across from Women's Hospital. They're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com, and they would love to see you at the store today. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-11.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs look to make history and capture their 3rd straight Super Bowl title when they take on Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles Sunday, February 9th. Our coverage from Westwood 1 starts at 1 p.m. with kickoff set for 5:30 and is presented locally by LeBear's Casino Hotel Baton Rouge. Your home for the NFL and the Super Bowl 59 is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Sharif Ishak coming up in 10 minutes. Got a little bit of a shorter segment here. I wanted to address something. Whenever I get a question time and time again, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's in Byford chat or whether it's via text message from my buddies, I feel like that's a reasonable indication that there are more people that are interested in hearing the answer to said question. And this is one that I've gotten a lot over the last 3 days. Right now, and I appreciate this a ton, LSU fans are kind of clinging to the internet for updates on baseball, and a lot of them come from the scrimmages. We don't get practice updates from LSU football and LSU basketball in the way that we get them from LSU baseball. We get updates like this from the Saints in training camp because the media is allowed to watch the entire time. So we know that they ran this play and this guy had this catch and this offensive lineman struggled there and this guy got beat for a touchdown and this guy made a one-handed catch. And you kind of, that momentum picks up steam in August. And we get a lot of that with LSU baseball this time of year because there are 120 people out there watching the practices, and because people tweet about them, and because the Tiger Droppings folks run a thread on it, and because I'm talking about it, and Musso just started Musso at the Box, and he's talking about it, and John Eads from WAFB has got his video that's posted on Twitter. So if you're trying to find LSU baseball information as to what is happening at practice, you can find it, and there are people that want to do that, and then they've got questions based on what's going on. And I've gotten this one 4 different times in 3 days. Is LSU going to bunt a lot? Because they're bunting a lot at practice. And I think there are some people that would hear, oh, they're bunting a lot at practice, and they would want to ask that question. And I think there are some people that go, it's practice in January. Who cares they're bunting? And I'm probably honestly closer to the second one there. Here's the deal. Jay Johnson is not going to mold an offense at LSU out of bunting a lot. Like, you haven't seen Jared Jones bunt at all in 3 days, and you're not going to see a ton of bunting from LSU because you don't want to give away outs and because you've got guys that have Major League Baseball aspirations on this team, and that talent level merits the opportunity to try to hit the ball out of the ballpark, hit it in the gap for a double, as opposed to laying down sacrifice bunts. Last year, you had Alex Milazzo, who bunted a ton because Alex had no extra base power, quite literally didn't hit any extra base hits last year, and was a strikeout potential guy, and you felt like his best chance was to maybe move the baseball a little bit. I don't think LSU is going to have anybody in their lineup 1 to 9 that has Alex Milazzo's offensive profile. Look, Alex hit in the 270s last year. He was not an automatic out. He had a better offensive season last year than I think most people would have anticipated truthfully. You can always hope for growth, but truthfully, could you expected him to be a great offensive player last year? Probably not. But LSU is very rarely going to put a starting player on the field that doesn't have an extra base hit for the season. Like, I think Alex had 4, maybe 3 or 4. I think he had 3 or 4 doubles. He had no home runs, no triples. So you're talking about a guy that was purely just a slap singles hitter and a defensive catcher. That's a guy that's going to bunt a little bit because your odds of hitting a ground ball in the infield with Alex into a double play are pretty good because he's not going to hit it in the gap. He's not going to hit it over the fence. He may hit it pretty hard, but it's going to be on the ground. That's a double play waiting to happen. That profile lends itself to bunting. Nobody else on this team does that. And so the answer is no. I don't think they're going to bunt a lot. Do I think they're going to bunt some? Sure. You're facing a really tough arm, and you're trying to win a tight game, and you really trust your pitching staff, there's a time and place for bunting. And there are some guys on this team that can certainly lay a bunt down. Michael Braswell can certainly lay a bunt down. Josh Pearson can certainly lay a bunt down. Like, there are guys on this team that can do that, but you're not going to see a ton of it. I got added on to that question, is LSU going to steal a lot more, hit and run a lot more? And I think there will be some opportunity for that. LSU is not a super fast team. Like, you look around the diamond, Aaron Beatty and Hernandez are not fast. Jared Jones is not fast. Dickinson's fast, absolutely. But Braswell doesn't run awesome. Milam's got above average speed. Ashton Larson doesn't run awesome. Curiel runs pretty well. Jake Brown runs very well. Chris Stanfield runs very well. But like Blaze Priester, if he DHs, is not going to run great. Ethan Fry runs okay. Like it's not a team full of speed demons, and you're really never going to put guys in motion if you've got Jones up, if you've got Hernandez up, if you've got Priester up, if you've got some of these Thunderbats in the lineup that you think can drive the ball out of the ballpark or have a really good chance to drive a double, like you're not going to run a lot there. So LSU is, I think, going to be a little more versatile than they were 2 years ago and towards the end of last year where they got pretty home run happy. 2 years ago, you could afford to do that because you had a ridiculous amount of home run hitters. I mean, you would go through that lineup and you would have real home run threats in Cruz and White and moving forward into Dugas and Beloso and Jobert. And like those guys were real threats to hit the ball out of the ballpark a lot. So you were not going to be super versatile with that offense and trying to run yourself into outs. Last year, the offense kind of fell into Tommy hitting a homer, Jared hitting a homer. That was the main source of LSU's pop for the majority of the year, and they were kind of the guys that needed to do it for you. And then, of course, weirdly enough, Braswell and Milam started hitting the ball out of the ballpark late in the season. But you're not going to rely on the home run ball as much on this team. So, yes, they will run a little bit more, and they're going to bunt a little bit, but you're not going to see some kind of West Coast small ball approach. Even Kentucky last year, that was kind of a small ball approach, even in a small ballpark. The answer is no. It's not going to be a massively drastic shift. They're going to be balanced. They're going to find ways to score. They will be able to manufacture runs, I believe, at times. But it's not – the reason they're bunting a lot at practice is because it's time to practice bunting. So that when you have – because you don't bunt when it's not crunch time. You bunt in crunch time. And you need to make sure you can get that done. You're up 5 runs in the 4th. You're not bunting. You're down a run in the 8th, you might bunt. You're tied in the 9th, you might bunt. You're up 1 in the top of the 9th, you might bunt. It's crunch time when that's got to happen, so you've got to work on it. And it's something that they're going to spend time working on. And right now is a really good time to do that as guys are learning to track the baseball with live pitching, coming back from the Christmas break, and you're trying to get yourself ready for a season. There's reason to work on that a little bit. That may not have been a helpful segment to 85% of you. Maybe it was for 85% of you. I don't know. But again, I kind of use my little internet and world and text message ecosystem as a reflection of the LSU fan base at times. And I've gotten a lot of this question, so I figured I would spend 8 minutes on it here late in January, and we'll kind of leave that at that. I don't think LSU is going to be some sort of Cal State Fullerton in the early 2000s baseball team. That's not in the cards for this group, but they need to work on it, and they are at this point. Let's step aside. When we come back, let's talk with our guy Sharif Ishak from WDSU. What's next for the Saints? Are they a laughing stock of the league right now? I want Sharif's thoughts on all of it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Time to talk some Saints with our guy Sharif Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans. Y'all have heard me say my pace on this the last 24 hours. Yes, it appears that the Saints are having some trouble getting traction with some candidates. There's no guarantee, in my opinion, that these candidates are slam dunks to be great head coaches. There are some that think the Saints are a laughing stock because of the way that this has gone over the last 2 weeks. I push back on that. Show me the result, not necessarily the process. That's my feeling on the situation. The question is what's Sharif's feeling. So let's bring him on via the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharif, are the Saints a laughing stock right now?
By the looks of it nationally, yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, just the way it just does not look good. I mean, it's just, the optics of it looks bad whenever 2 guys in your building a few years ago don't come back in for an in-person interview and you're down to the last few people, bottom of the barrel, pretty much guys and candidates that you think you might want to hire, but they may not take the job. So they're in a weird spot. I mean, look, the franchise, the cap situation is terrible. The roster's old. The GM doubles down on some things that aren't really, the greatest things to double down on. Your former coach and look beyond the results. I mean, a lot of people are seeing that, and they probably don't want to deal with it. And I think that also getting a coach fired in the middle of the season plays into it too. They're probably like, well, is this going to go sideways on me and they're going to fire me? So, I mean, it's probably a bunch of factors that go into it. So stability, and I think this is what the next coach wants. And do they want that quarterback? Do they want to play with Derek Carr as their future? It's so many things that aren't great. It almost feels like 2005, but it seems like they're having an even harder time to find that coach.
Where do you think things are shifting right now? We know the report is that they flew and they met with Kellen Moore last night. We know that Mike McCarthy's been in conversations. Where do you kind of think things are resting at this current juncture?
I truly think that, they would love to have Mike McCarthy, but I bet he's asking for too much money. And I saw the Josina Anderson report, and it makes it seem like he wants a lot of control. And if you know Mickey Loomis, he's not giving him any control. He does not like to give anyone any control. He wants to have his hands on everything and wants to have his fingerprints on everything when it comes to the front office and decisions. So
what about Sean Payton? Did Sean Payton not have any control?
He had a little control. I think he had a little bit of control. I think he went and got the players. Mickey got the players that he asked for and pretty much did everything he asked him to do. I just think Mike McCarthy might want to be the GM. I think it looks like the same situation he was in Dallas. It's like too many people above him, and he has no say so, and he doesn't want that to be the case here. So I think he's seeing that here, and he's like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. It's just something that's something I want to deal with right now.
Why do you think so many teams have interviewed Mike Kafka, and why he continues to pop up in these lists when he's got kind of a low profile in a bad organization?
Maybe that. Look, man. Maybe they see something that a lot of us don't know anything about. I mean, because you're hearing a lot of people raving about him. Even you see Jim Nagy tweeting about him. I think on Sunday that he'd be a good candidate. I mean, I don't know how much Jim knows, but maybe he knows a lot more than us. I mean, you're seeing a lot of people go to bat for him. I mean, his teams have not been good in New York. I mean, they made the playoffs a couple of years ago on the back of Saquon Barkley. They had the number 4 rushing attack, and Daniel Jones has been who was a disaster before they let him go. I mean, I just don't know. It's been a bad New York team. I don't know what they see. Maybe they see a guy who commands the room and commands the team and respect, and he can hold players accountable. That's maybe what they see, because I honestly I don't see like the ability to creativity and winning on the field. I mean, he wouldn't be my guy. If he were my guy, doesn't want to interview here. That would be Joe Brady. I mean, so that's where they are. I mean, I don't know what they see in Mike Kafka. That is just I'm mind boggled, to be honest with you, with that situation.
Kellen Moore's on a good team, and he was the coordinator for 2 good Cowboys teams. 2 of them that went 12-5 and had offenses in the top 3 in the NFL in touchdowns. He's had a good run with the Eagles this year. The stop with the Chargers wasn't very good, but he's coordinated some good offenses. Your thoughts on his potential and where that might go?
I think people are going to want to know, once again, can he hold the team accountable? Is he capable of, being creative with a team that doesn't have Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, a good offensive line, and a pretty good defense that can take the ball away? Nick Sirianni stuck up for him, thought that he'd be a good head coach, think he could be a good leader, and maybe he's right. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt to take a shot on the guy who'd be the youngest head coach in the NFL. I think you just got to go outside the box. I mean, no matter who's the head coach, it's a 2 to 3 year rebuild to me, and you might be able to get it to go in the right direction in 2026. And I would go with him. I mean, I don't mind Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore doesn't bother me. At least he took a Philadelphia team that was about to fire the entire staff last year and elevated the offense. Yes, I know they added Saquon Barkley, but at least the rest of the team's pretty much the same outside of Saquon Barkley. And yes, he's a difference maker and he's done wonders for that team, but at least he's found a way to use those players all in the right way. Unlike last year, whenever they had, I think it was Ben Johnson, that's his name, was the offensive coordinator, whoever the offensive coordinator was last year. He's with Washington Commanders now. But that's just saying that, at least he knows how to adapt and build an offense and be successful. Now, is he going to be a great head coach? I don't know. Maybe. But at least he's a creative mind at 36 years old when it comes to an offense. So I would take a shot with him.
And you got Anthony Weaver on the other side of the ball, who the Saints, I know, have talked to. I haven't heard a lot about him in the last 48 hours, but certainly I'm not shutting any doors at this point. What are your thoughts on that?
I think anyone who comes from the John Harbaugh tree usually turns out pretty decent. I mean, look at Mike McDonald at Seattle. I mean, decent first year with the Seahawks. He's 37 years old, but he was a defensive guy, and I thought they did an all right job in his first year. They were close to winning the division and even getting into the playoffs. So I wouldn't be mad about Anthony Weaver. Weaver and Kellen Moore would not bother me at all. I'd be fine with either guy. I mean, it looks like he's a guy who can hold team as a leader, who can hold the team accountable, and who can push them in the right direction. I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking for someone who can be a leader as a head coach, who can also be a little bit more creative on each side of the ball. That's why I'm saying why they're probably headed in the offensive coach's direction. So I'd be fine with Anthony. Anthony Weaver seems like he's dealt with a bad hand this year with Tua being hurt and the offense really putting them on the field completely too long throughout a lot of games this season. So look, man, I mean, it looks like he gets along with players, and players like coach and get along with him and also push them to be a better players, better team. But I think it's going to get resolved soon. It has to get resolved soon.
Let me reframe this conversation. What if, because you're saying I'm okay with Brady, I would be okay with Brady, I would be okay with Kellen Moore, I'd be okay with Weaver, I'm not sure about Kafka, and I don't disagree with any of that, but would you sing a different tune if this was 2018, 2019, you had Drew Brees, you had all-pro DeMario Davis younger, you had all-pro Michael Thomas, you had a top-5 defense in the NFL, and Sean Payton stepped away and said, yeah, I'm just retiring, and you had a roster that you felt like was ready to win now, and I told you that these were the candidates, or are you framing your analysis of these candidates based on the fact that you don't think the Saints are going to be good in a year anyway, so who really cares who's the coach?
Right. That's why I'm looking at it there. So I said, yeah, he'd be good. He'd be good. Now, if Sean Payton would have stepped away in 18 or 19, they would have probably gotten high-profile names, bigger names coming after that job than the names you're seeing. In fact, that would have probably been one of the first jobs filled instead of being the last job filled right now. So that's why I'm like, yeah, he would be okay. He'd be okay. I mean, it's you're dealing with a rebuild. As much as Mickey doesn't want to admit it, it's a rebuild. I mean, look, you're dealing with an aging roster and not $100 million hole for salary cap, but $60 million salary hole in the salary cap, and Derek Carr. I mean, it's completely different. And so you have to be okay with whoever you hire if it's one of those three guys or four guys. If you throw Kafka, Moore, McCarthy, and Weaver in the mix, even there, Rizzi.
Is Rizzi still in the mix, you think?
Oh, I think he's still in the mix. I really, truly feel like he would be the last guy on that list, which it's not his fault. It'd be 100% a failure on Mickey Loomis in the front office if that's who the hire is. And he should not be blamed for it if he gets the job. It's not really his fault if he got the job. It's just man, how would you feel if you were the last pick in if you're playing baseball with a bunch of friends when you're younger, you're the last pick. It's like, man, that kind of stinks. You guys maybe wait a whole month. Why don't you just hire me when it all started, the process? You just gave me the job, and you went through the entire process, and you picked me last because no one wanted the job. But hey, it's one of 30 jobs, and you probably wouldn't feel that bad. But that's just the way I would look at it. Like, man, you could have hired me a long time ago.
And that's where I'm with you. That at that point, I would stand here and say, okay, they failed. If they hired Darren Rizzi, in my opinion, without having all the facts, because that's a hypothetical that's in the future, it would feel like they literally couldn't hire anyone else, is what that would feel like. And at that point, I would call them a failure. Right now, I'm saying, well, why don't we just wait and see who they hire? But if you get to that point, it would be evident to me that you couldn't hire anybody else.
Yep, and it'd be a complete failure. But it would not be Darren Rizzi's fault. It'd be the Saints front office organization for absolutely botching this whole thing from the start. And then you're going to start thinking, what more do we need to do? Who do we need to move? What do we need to change? And maybe they have bigger discussions in terms of, do we need to shift people around? In terms of, maybe Mickey's name pops up, maybe some other people in the front office. I mean, you can't move in this direction if you're just trying to hire a coach and you get the last guy on your list. Yeah. And maybe it turns out okay if it is Rizzi, but that doesn't move the needle for the fan base.
No question. We'll see. Maybe by the time we talk to you next week, there's a new head coach in place for New Orleans. We'll do it again very soon. Thanks, Sharif.
All right, buddy.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, down in the Big Easy. All right, we'll come back and close things out. Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com. And LeBear's Casino Hotel Baton Rouge brings you live coverage of the 2025 Reese's Senior Bowls we talked about a little bit earlier. Our team of T-Bob Hebert and Jacob Hester hosts Off the Bench live from Mobile, Alabama, started yesterday, Monday, June 27th, all the way through this Thursday, January 30th. You can listen here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge from 7 to 10 and watch on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel.
I would like 104.5 ESPN to take care of my car payments.
How about can we get some Reese's? Like, I mean, the guys are at the Reese's Senior Bowl. Could they ship us like a box of some Reese's? I mean, that would be nice.
You go Reese's too? That's a very common thing. My wife does it. Just completely
Reese's?
incorrect.
I don't know. I don't usually. I usually say Reese's. I don't know.
And it makes it even crazier that my wife says Reese's Pieces. That's just
just
absurd.
That's not correct.
It's Reese's Pieces.
It's still
very
Pieces.
simple.
The second
it's
word
a
is
name.
normal.
It's right there. Reese's.
Reese's. Yeah. I it was an accident. I usually just say Reese's.
I'll tell you. One of the whoever is in charge of product development at Reese's is an absolute genius.
Yes.
Go in a gas station. I'm not even going to exaggerate. There's 11 kinds of Reese's.
There is.
There's Fast Break and Inside Out and Monster Cup and it's a peanut butter cup, the small one, individual Reese's Pieces. There's cups with the M&Ms in them. It's absurd.
Let me just say they're
all the same.
No, the Fast Break is really good. It is an underrated
they're
candy
all
bar.
good, but it's all the same.
It's not all exactly. There are some small minor differences.
It's like Taco Bell's made an empire out of wrapping meat, lettuce, tomato, and sauce in a tortilla like 13 different ways and calling it a different thing. Amazing stuff. None of it's any different. It's all the same.
There
and
are
I'm not
small
hating on
differences.
Taco Bell or Reese's. I think both have their place, but it's so much similar stuff that they repackage and sell you a million different ways. The amount of Reese's in a standard gas station is mind blowing.
Yeah, that they probably have. They're probably the main of all the different candy bar brands. They probably have the most variations.
There's no doubt. And I'll tell you what I like to do with the Reese's. I haven't done this in, definitely over a year because I definitely haven't done it at my new house. I probably haven't done it in a year and a half or so. Making like a Bluebell vanilla milkshake at homemade and putting some Reese's in there when you blend it up. That's the good stuff.
Yeah, maybe throw some bananas in there while you're at it.
I wouldn't eat a banana if you paid me $10. Disgusting, awful.
All right.
Inedible, terrible.
All right.
Hate bananas.
Good to know.
Myers man, big banana guy, hate them. Awful.
Wow.
We got to get, I'm thinking one of the next things I got to do, show at Myers is his milkshake because he's obsessed with milk and he's obsessed with ice cream.
He would love
a
that.
milkshake.
Yeah.
We got to make that happen.
And then you could throw in some stuff like bananas to make it a little bit healthier.
Yeah, I'm sure a bunch of Bluebells, super healthy.
Well, at least if you get some bananas and maybe some other, fruit in there,
I think he'll be okay.
It'll help.
He's not a beacon of health food. He's eating chicken fingers, French fries, and lasagna 91% of his dinner. So
91. That's a very distinct number.
It's
you
a
chose
lot.
there.
Like there's some peas you sneak in there at times. We give him some veggie pouches, but there's a lot of chicken, French fries, ketchup, and lasagna being eaten in that house. It
Wow,
just is what it is. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
All right, first one here. Tiger and Rory's TGL teams squared off last night, Hunt. It was actually a pretty competitive match. They made it all the way to overtime, where Kevin Kisner was actually the hero for the Jupiter Lynx squad in that one. So the TGL actually may be having some interesting matches. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. It's fine. What's TGL stand for again?
Is it the Golf League? I don't even know.
Is it? I thought it was Tuesday Golf League.
Oh, maybe it is. It is on Tuesday.
Well,
so
that was a Monday.
Yeah.
So that misses the mark.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
I don't know
I actually don't know what it stands for.
Either way, I hope it does well. It's fine. I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. If there's nothing else, I might flip over there. And y'all know I watch a ton of golf. I can't wait to watch Pebble Beach this week. But
TGL means Tomorrow Golf League because it was created by Tomorrow Sports, which is the thing that Tiger Woods and Mike McCarley created.
Okay, cool. Tomorrow Golf League. So it's
there you go.
Tomorrow, today, whatever. It's a cool concept. It just doesn't do much for me as a television product, so I haven't really watched a lot.
Yeah, I was telling you in the break, it was a little bit, it's still very, like the whole production of it is very just over the top and just really kind of hokey in a way. But the funniest thing last night was that Matt Berry, who's pretty much the sole commentator, and he kept mentioning things that were happening for the first time in TGL competitive history.
They're 3 weeks in?
It's been about 3 weeks, yeah. So, Matt, I think you able to ease up on this
Liv was
TGL
doing a lot of that
competitive
too.
history. history. That's enough. That's enough of that. But moving on, Alex Box Stadium. In Alex Box Stadium, outfield wall with no signage. Take it or leave it.
Oh, I'll take that. It looks awesome. I told y'all about that. It's right now. There's no signage up, and it looks fantastic.
Well, that's not going to last.
It's not, because there are dollars and cents to be had, and as we know, dollars and cents rule the world. And look, I'm not saying it looks ridiculous with signage. Wrigley's got big Gallagher things on the Ivy walls now. Yankee Stadium's littered with signs. Like it just is what it is. It's fine. I'm going to live with it. It's been that way literally my entire life. But it does look great without them. I did enjoy that on Sunday.
All right, last one real quick. Jalen Milroe's hands measured shy of 9 inches at the Senior Bowl.
T-Bob!
Small hands. His draft stock will plummet. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. I never bet on any quarterback's draft stock to plummet. I just think they're all going to get taken. All the first 20 picks are going to be quarterbacks.
Didn't people freak out about Joe Burrow's hands? Weren't they kind of small?
Like he figured that out.
I don't remember if they were
quickly.
9 inches or not, but
they were in the 9s.
Okay.
T-Bob is 9-inch kings. That's what he talks about. They were in the 9s. I think Jalen Milroe's interception problems and their accuracy problems will probably cause
more
his
important.
Draft plummet stomach. Can't say it. Draft stock to plummet more than his small hands, but it is what it is. All right, that's it for us. Matt's going to drive you home. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. It'll be then a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is where you can find every car on the lot. How about 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? Pretty good gig. 10 years, 100,000 miles. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? Complimentary. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance that's valet serviced, meaning you don't even have to go. You go to work, you call them up, need the oil change, need the wiper blades looked at, give me a new air filter. All that can be done complimentary for the first 3 years. They drive to you. They drop you a car so you can get on with your day. They bring your car back to the service station, and they make sure that you're taken care of. That's part of being a Genesis of Baton Rouge driver. Go by and see them. They're at Airline near Pico, across from Women's Hospital. And as I mentioned, every day, every car that's on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.